Hello and welcome! Silrace here with The Division. I want to talk a little bit about the Last Stand DLC. So I have read the news, I have looked at what is happening with it and all of that stuff, and well, get some of my thoughts out here before the whole thing comes and see if my thoughts fall apart when it hits and it actually becomes reality, alright? So, I'll admit right away that I am happy that there will be a sort of instanced PvP. Because, frankly, when people want to PvP and that's the only thing they want, well, this is how you get it, alright? You get like-minded people who actually want to PvP in there with you. Instead of, for example, running around the dark zone looking for somebody who would actually want to fight you, instead of just, you know, farming monsters and you having to kill them until somebody gets pissed enough to actually want to fight you for you to get the PvP experience, or doing your PvP in the survival mode PvP. Because that's always possible as well. No, this thing actually allows you to PvP against people who really want to PvP, which has to me always been the selling point of instanced PvP areas in all MMORPG style games, such as, for example, World of Warcraft and all these others, which allow that kind of stuff. And it also lets the developers tweak the area, as in the physical location where it's taking place can be tweaked so that it is actually conducive to the PvP, that there is no other distractions, or if there is distractions, they don't really take away from the PvP, so that it is the main thing. The main course is the PvP, right? You go there and have a, well, piece of that, so to say. So I'm happy about that, obviously. However, it does obviously segregate the population a little bit, because it will siphon out some of the actual player versus player from the dark zone itself to this new thing, right? Obviously it will do that, so there will maybe be a little less fighting in the general dark zone between like the actual player versus player focused groups, or maybe not. We will see. I'm curious to see how that affects the whole dark zone player versus player. But the most annoying thing to me here is that the thing Last Stand is actually a DLC. Now, I bought my Division along with the Season Pass on a sale. So I have the Season Pass, I will get this thing for myself, but not everybody has the Season Pass, not everybody either has the money or really wants to spend the money to buy this thing. Especially until they hear if it's actually any good. And if you are on the fence, then obviously don't spend your money, right? Until you know that it actually works and so on. Anyways, this causes rifts and splitting of the community, obviously, this kind of stuff. Like, if you're taking the player versus player crowds out of the dark zone, because the, like, people who are really into this and really want to do that PvP, they might be spending their time on Last Stand, and the player versus player interested folks who don't have Last Stand, they are still only running around in the dark zone, or possibly survival PvP if they have that, right? So this segregates the population into smaller pieces. Kind of like when you're playing a shooter game and you buy a map pack, and majority of the player base does not have that map pack for whatever reason. So you're essentially playing on maps where most people don't get to. That sort of thing, right? Or game modes. This is essentially a game mode, which, well, not everybody is going to get it. And that is where I personally feel this might fail a little bit. The fact that this is actually a paid DLC to, you know, for the PvP crowd, because frankly, player versus player is part of the game, and I don't feel something like this is something you should be, you know, paying for. It's not like the Underground or like the Survival, which are essentially very different game modes out of the rest. No, this is basically just taking the player versus player aspect of the game and saying, okay, here is your game mode. Right? That doesn't seem, at least to me, that does not sit right. Because game modes like the Survival, they are very much not everybody's cup of tea, obviously. Like, I understand people don't like Survival, it's very different than from the rest of the game. Whereas if you like player versus player, then yeah, you're essentially having an entire DLC for that, which is basically just it, and not a very different game mode. The Underground is the same way, very different game mode from the base game. Anyway, just my thoughts on it. I like the idea, I really enjoy the concept, and I am kind of happy that there will now be an arena essentially for the player versus player folks to really engage each other on. However, I am afraid of the segregation with the fact that you have to actually pay for this. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and listening.